Okay, today we're going to do a taking off the top end. Actually, I'm just needing to replace the head on this. Bought it off a guy, and it's supposed to have been running, and ended up having two choke plate screws. Went through the head, bent the valve, and sitting on top of the piston. And so we're going to tear it down. This holds the head to the cylinder. It's 10 millimeter. This right here is a 10 millimeter, and it actually is a guide for your chain, for your cam, your timing. There's another 10 millimeter on the other side of this. Takes this off. These are 10 millimeters. You're going to need to take your intake manifold off, normally 10 millimeters, and then your exhaust underneath there, which I already have taken off, is also 10 millimeters. This had an oil cooler on it, and I've already removed that. So I'm going to take these four off first, then I'll take the other side of here. Inside of here there's, oh yeah, I want to tell you, if you had a skid plate, the back bolts, which actually hook to your foot pegs, is going to be a 12 millimeter. These deals hook onto the side of the cylinder right there. Those are normally an 8 millimeter. And here's that bolt I was telling you about, and that's 10 millimeter. Alright, I've taken off the top of the valve cover. This one right here is going to have a brass, I guess it's copper O-ring on it. This is actually where your oil comes up through your head, so make sure you put the copper one back on there. It expands when it gets hot. All the other three are going to be chrome. Got that off. Took the carburetor off. And now we're over here. These are three 9 millimeter bolts. I usually get it right close to top dead center. I'll put a 9 millimeter socket on it, and I'll just kind of smack the socket handle with my hand real good, because there's really no way other than like put a screwdriver in the chain to lock that up, but usually if I do that they pop right off. So we'll be taking that off now. That 10 millimeter bolt off there, and then you'll have to jiggle your camshaft gear off of there. Alright, you also have a timing mark. This little dot right here is top dead center. There should be a little notch in your case. Mine is right there, and that is top dead center. When you go to put this back together, you got to make sure that those line up. I usually put my piston, I just use the crank and get it top dead center. Take out your spark plug so you don't have any compression, so it's a lot easier to move. Once it gets top dead center, it'll slip by really fast, so make sure you got that lined up properly. This cam will only go on one-way gear. These two bolts are longer, further apart than these two or these two, so there's only one way to put it on. You can't mess that up. It's just the timing that you can mess up. I've already got these loose. I'm fixing to pop this off, and we'll take the head off. Also, if you've never done this before, as you're taking this stuff off, if you have something to put it on, you can line it up kind of with where you've taken it off, and it'll give you a good idea of what needs to go back on. This, of course, being our valve cover. This being our camshaft cover. That's an exhaust gasket. I guess I left one of the bolts for the carburetor manifold at home. Timing chain, sprocket with the 3 bolts. These are actually the nuts that go underneath the engine guard, and I think they're actually the wrong ones. I'm pretty sure they didn't originally come with that. Normally those are 12 millimeter and they're a lot shorter, so somebody jimmied some stuff up before I got this bike, and just giving you a heads up on that. I've got the gear out of there. The chain falls down. There's a wheel behind it that the chain rotates on. There's a washer that goes on that, so don't lose that. And it's just a little slender thing. The wheel rotates on that. Gotta take this 10 millimeter off, and then the head will come off. And that's where we're at now. Okay, if you were changing out pistons and cylinder, you'd go ahead and pull your jug off after you got this 10 millimeter bolt out. These bolts aren't really to hold the stuff together, it's just to put it together and hold it where it's at while you're putting it together. That's why there's one here and one here. The 4 bolts you put on the end is what actually clamps it all down. Alright, to finish changing the piston, you take your cylinder off. You'll have your timing chain here. When you go back to put it on, make sure you razor blade all this off, put a new gasket on. There's a little clip in here. You'll grab that with needle nose pliers. Go from the other side, get you a flathead screwdriver, and tap your rod out there. You can see it down in there. Put your new piston rings on your new piston. Position your slots in different areas, one here, one maybe down here, and one over here. Put your other clip in before you try and put it on the rod with your needle nose pliers. Slide this through, put your other clip in with your needle nose pliers. Make sure your gasket and everything is clean, and you have a good gasket on there. Normally you'll have a rubber seal or something right here. Go ahead and slide your cylinder back down. When you're doing this, I normally will take my fingers, and I'll usually use about 3 different positions, be from the back side though, and slide it on the cylinder. Compress it with your fingers. It usually slide right on. When you put your cylinder on there, put a little oil inside your cylinder. That way you have oil first of all when it's running, because it's brand new. You don't want it metal on metal, and it also gets it on there. You don't have to have a god-awful amount. Just put some oil on the cylinder. I usually put a little on my finger and rub the whole cylinder. And then the rest of the video is what you've already seen.